Let's talk about iBuyers. These tech firms formed with an offer of instant cash to sellers for simpler, quicker transactions, but they are taking a lashing during the changing market. When iBuyers began a few years ago, they made bold offers and dove into markets around the country, including our Greenville area. They promised quick cash, easy selling process, and that the seller could pick their closing date, sometimes even be allowed to stay in the home for a few days after closing. Now, with a slowing housing market, many of these companies are having to pull back, change models, and some have been forced to close. In this video, we'll focus on Opendoor and its activity in the upstate around Greenville, South Carolina. But first, I'll touch on a few others. Redfin was forced to close its iBuying branch, Redfin Now, in November of last year. Zillow beat the rush and closed their iBuyer Zillow offers in 2021. Both of these companies took massive losses in the process. Before I go further, let me mention that I'm a local realtor living in the Greenville area almost my whole life, and I would love to help you sell your property and net the most money for your pocket. If you're moving and would like some expert advice on how to do so, give me a call or a text. Now, in an article published by NAR, Kurt Carlton, the president and co-founder of New Western, a company that buys and sells properties to flippers and investors, said, and I quote, "iBuyer model remains unproven. iBuyers that remain in the market reportedly are taking on significantly fewer purchases and making less enticing offers to sellers. It may return with some real utility, but I don't think the recent overabundance of cash in the venture capital markets was a healthy dynamic for these models. They certainly didn't seem to provide the urgency and do-or-die grit that often drives real innovation. Now, the capital markets have shifted to a profits over promises expectation, and many of the iBuyers have found themselves running out of time. The purest iBuyers are essentially pivoting to become something more like listing agents, Carlton says, showing just how challenging it is to disrupt the current industry standard. Even with assurances that they were here to disrupt the real estate industry, iBuyers have accounted for only a small number of transactions. Only 1% of sellers sold their home through an iBuyer during 2022. Some markets saw more activity than others, such as Phoenix, where iBuying accounted for nearly 10% of sales, according to data from Parcel Labs, a company that tracks iBuyer activity. Most, if not all, iBuyers reduced their buying pace by the third quarter of last year. Opendoor scaled back 45% and trimmed almost 20% of its workforce in the fall. Their CEO and co-founder, Eric Wu, is expected to step down, announcing that he would leave soon. Opendoor's experience in the Greenville area sheds some light on how harsh the market has been to their business model. Here are a few examples from our MLS of their recent buys and sells. In this first example, Opendoor purchased this home in Greenville on Winding River for $467,200 in July of 2022, just last year. The timing isn't shown here, but they went on the market on the MLS for $485,000 in September and failed to sell for months. After some price drops, they eventually closed in December at $425,000. In the next example here, they purchased a smaller home on Old Timber for $189,700, also in July of last year. Thinking they would make a profit, they again closed short of their purchase price by $3,700. The third home on Balmoral Court was purchased by Opendoor in May of 2022 for $372,600. As you can see here, they took 4 months to sell and lost almost $75,000, selling for $325,000 in September of last year. This home on Meadow Green continues the trend, purchasing at $351,000 and change and selling for $335,000 only 3 months later. It's important to say that these numbers show the losses Opendoor took from buying and selling in the sales price. It does not include all the expenses they incurred from having inspections done, pictures taken, paying their employees throughout the process, travel back and forth, and the carrying costs of the homes themselves, from taxes to landscaping and utilities. Unlike a homeowner sold home, no one was occupying these properties to keep the yard mowed and the lights on between purchase and sale. Even with these losses, Opendoor did have some successful transactions and is expecting to pivot their business and try to remain a factor in the real estate market. If you're considering selling and need a quick sale, an iBuyer could be a solution. I would compare using an iBuyer to using a wholesaler to sell your property. Both will want to buy your property at a discount in order to make a profit when they flip your home to a more permanent owner. If you choose to talk to an iBuyer, just know that if they aren't losing money on the purchase of your home, you're going to be taking a loss of equity when they sell your property at a better price as soon as they can get it back on the market. There are some advantages to using an iBuyer or wholesaler. The advantages of using a wholesaler is they normally cover all costs and are local and willing to give you a number up front that should be your takeaway at closing. iBuyers will give you an offer sight unseen, but then usually that number drops once they inspect the home and make deductions based on any repairs or upfit they believe they need to sell the home. An iBuyer does offer the security of dealing with a larger company than most wholesalers that don't have a large company backing them. Either way, just know that you are taking less equity for your home in exchange for what is hopefully a quick and simple sale. It's hard to tell if iBuyers will continue to evolve and become part of a larger real estate market or linger as an alternative similar to more traditional methods. Some, such as New Western, have developed a niche of focusing on homes needing rehab and purchasing them for sale to investors looking to make a flip. If you're looking to get the most equity for your sale, you need to take your home to the market with a real estate professional so that it gets the proper exposure to all potential buyers. An end user is always going to pay the best price unless you can convince these iBuyers to start overpaying again. If you do need to sell, please reach out. I would love to help you. Thank you for watching and subscribe below for more Greenville, South Carolina content each week.